being a student of Podale. I really appreciate the chance and thank you very much for your time. And this is my research title, Field Survey on Rural Revitalization Strategy Driven by Art and Culture and Art in China, 3 case studies in Dashui Potang. My research is divided into 9 parts. Chapter 4 was presented in 2 international conferences, and Chapter 5 was published in the Journal of Building. And the paper from Chapter 6 is now under the first round of revisions. Chapter 1 is about the introduction and the research aim. Rural areas support urban development in many parts, and the rural population of China now accounts for 36%, so the development of rural areas is very important now. The Chinese government pays attention to the rural development from 1979, and now we are in the period of rural revitalization. The improvement of the rural environment is very important now. Current rural revitalization focuses on the construction of the beautiful villages, and this including the following 5 parts. Rural environment improvement and the traditional culture protection is related to my research. In 2022, multi-government departments jointly issued a document. The name is Opinions on Promoting Cultural Industries to Empower Rural Revitalization, and it can be speculated that in the future, many culture-related rural projects will be developed. And cases of revitalization using cultural elements are very common in Japan, but not very common in China. Some key items are defined in this page. The first one is rural revitalization strategy driven by culture and art. This refers to a strategy approach that uses cultural capital to stimulate economic growth, enhance social ties, and improve the quality of life in rural areas. And the second one is the cultural capital, and this refers to the cultural resources that can be used in the rural revitalization. And the cultural capital can be both local resources and externally introduced resources. And the next one is one village, one product. And this refers to a strategy approach that uses each village's unique cultural capital to create a special product or experience that to enhance the economic vitality. Here are the definitions of 2 important cultural facilities. The first one is the design valley. Design valley refers to a cultural facility that established by an architect, and he treats architectural design concept as the cultural capital. And the next one is Bikeguan Art Museum, and this is a cultural facility that focuses on fine art and comics. And this art museum is named by the local famous artist. His name is Bikeguan. My research was conducted in Dashui Potang, Weihai City, China. The rural revitalization in Dashui Potang starts from 2017 and adapts a rural revitalization strategy driven by culture and art. There are with 19 villages, each adapting a very different culture and artistic theme. Few areas in China host such a diverse range of art themes. Although the project's progress is very slow now, but closely tracking and analyzing this case can provide rich experiences for the future. 3 fully optional villages have been selected as a target village. The 3 villages are Baojiaan, Tujiacun, and Waluzhuang. Here is the overview of the 3 villages. B village has a cultural facility of design valley. Use the architectural design concept as the cultural capital. And C village has a cultural facility of event hall, but by now there are no lectures held, and the theme of the art is unclear. W village has a cultural facility of Bikeguan Art Museum, and with a very clear art theme of comics. The study carries out a comprehensive field survey to explore the impact of culture and artistic activities on rural revitalization in Dashui Potang, and it aims to provide a foundation for the further research and develop a preliminary perspective based on field survey findings that can suggest the possibilities and future directions for policymakers in planning, implementing and assessing the efforts of the rural revitalization. Chapter 2 is about the literature review and the rural revitalization elements in this research. As for the research gap, a literature research on scopus was done for the years 2019 to 2024. The keyword used was rural revitalization and art rural. Word frequency analysis was used to find common themes and changes in research focus. The table on the right is the result for the keyword of rural revitalization. There is a lack of comprehensive approach to rural revitalization. The table in this page is the result for the keyword art and rural. We can find that there are not so many research focused on rural revitalization strategy driven by culture and art. And currently, there is a lack of comprehensive research on rural areas, as well as studies on rural revitalization strategy driven by culture and art. And there is also a shortage of management system for the rural revitalization driven by culture and art. Therefore, my study can fill this gap and establish a solid foundation for future research. Based on the previous research and considering the complexity of rural areas, the rural revitalization in Dashui Potang is divided into 3 elements: the cultural facilities, the rural parks, and the rural dwellings. These 3 parts are easy to manage and assess. This chapter is talking about the method. For each element, different research aims and methods are outlined. For cultural facility, mainly talking about the certification of the cultural capital using the methods of certification survey, field survey, and semi-structured interviews. For rural parks, mainly talks about the accessibility, thermal comfort, and the certification too. These parts use the NVMAT and DepthMAT to simulate. For the rural dwellings, mainly talks about the differences between the traditional dwellings and the new dwellings. The method used in this study are kept simple so that the policymakers and designers working on the same field can easily use them for their own purpose. And this is the method for calculating the sample size for the field survey with the confidence level 95% and a margin of error 10%. Using this calculation method, the minimum size was determined, and the sample size of this study is higher than the minimum required. Chapter 4 is about rural facilities. There are 2 facilities to be discussed in this chapter. One is Design Valley, located in B Village, and use the architectural design concept as the cultural capital. And the other one is Pikoguan Art Museum, located in W Village, treated comics as the culture capital. Understanding architecture design concept often depends on how people are educated about architecture. It is difficult for the normal person to understand. This is the certification result of the Design Valley. The questionnaire was conducted on September 2023 among the people who visited the Design Valley, and the interviews was conducted too. The target was selected randomly. We can see from this figure that the score of the culture capital is lower than the facility itself. Most people in the interview said the building looks nice, but since they are not professional designers, they can't understand much beyond that. The architecture design concept as culture capital is obscure and difficult to understand for normal person. This is the certification level among different age groups. We can see that people over 60 have a big difference in their scores of the facility and the culture capital. The gap is 0.8. They don't understand why people come to see this building. And this also happens in the 31 to 40 age group. Our field survey found that most people in this age group come with their children. Since architecture design concept as culture capital attracts the kids less, and we think this is why the ratings are lower. For the age 51 to 60, the rating of the culture is higher than the facility, and maybe because the visitors are highly educated and maybe they are able to understand, and young people show more receptive towards culture capital. But overall, we can see that as age increases, the score for the cultural capital gets lower. This is another cultural facility, Beaker Art Museum. This museum is located in W Village. The cultural capital of this museum is the comic created by different artists and animation characters created from the local face. The second picture is also a part of the cultural capital. In addition, a 500-year-old Kinko tree next to the museum is also treated as part of the cultural capital, and because the Kinko tree means a lot in Chinese traditional culture. This is a certification result of the art museum. We can see that the score of the cultural capital is higher than the facility, and the field survey showed that the acceptance of the comic is high. This is the certification level among different age groups. We can see that young people show more love for comics, but those over 16 give lower scores for the cultural part. We can also find that as the age increases, the rating for the cultural facilities get lower. But for the comics, the scores are higher than those for the architectural design concept in most age groups. From the field survey, we can see that W Village is much more prosperity than B Village. W Village benefits well because it has a lot of acceptable art and comic shows. On the other hand, B Village benefit from the hardly can benefit from the cultural facility. Because the cultural capital is too obscure, too hard to understand for normal person. And we can find that the higher the certification score of the cultural capital, the better result of the rural revitalization. The clarity and understandability of the cultural capital are crucial to the result of the rural revitalization. While high certification score at cultural capital suggests favorable reception of culture and art, this indicator alone may not be sufficient as a clear indicator of successful rural revitalization. Chapter 5 discusses the rural park. Accessibility is the most basic factor affecting whether people can reach the park, while thermal comfort determines whether they are willing to stay in the park. Accessibility and thermal comfort will be simulated using software, and people's opinions on these two parts will also be asked in the interview. Certifications that come by survey and interview can provide an overall assessment of the park. This chapter talks about two parks. The right side is the park in W Village, and this park can be considered as well designed, while the park in the C Village, the left picture, shows no sign of design. Rural parks are a good place for communication. This part is about the accessibility. Depth map is used to analyze the accessibility. The road system of the village will be analyzed in depth map for the integration. The higher integration, the easy to access, and easy access is an important factor for increasing people's use. This is the location of the park. The road system was analyzed in depth map. And the result shows that the park is easy to access because the color around the park is red. And the art museum, this is the art museum. The art museum next to the park is easy to access too. Accessible park and easy understandable cultural capital makes it easier for the resident to enjoy outdoor and cultural activities. The park is an important place for gathering and socializing, stressing the connections among community members and the visitors. The same way to get the result of C Village. The result shows that the park in C Village is easy to access too. And we can see from the photo that this park is next to the main road of the village, and there is no design to protect the user's privacy. And from the interview, it is found that lack of privacy keeps some people from going to the park. Both of the parks are easy to access, but both villagers and visitors express satisfaction with their positions, but the use of the park in C Village is lower because of the lack of privacy from the field survey. And this is about the thermal comfort. Park with a comfortable thermal environment is the best choice in summer, and the communication in the park means a lot to the rural revitalization. The NVMat software is used as a simulation tool. A grid model is built in space, and the data from the simulation for the simulation is input in the guide. The simulation is conducted in NV Core using simple forcing mode. The imaging of the simulation result is displayed in Leonardo. This shows the main simulation parameters, including environmental data, plants, buildings, and soil features. PET is used to assess whether the thermal environment is comfortable or not. PET is a commonly used index, can be calculated by the Riemann software. The basic of the PET is the energy balance equation of the human body, but the PET calculation formula of Riemann is not disclosed. There are the indicators needed to calculate PET in the Riemann soft. Simulation data, personal data, clothing, and activity is imported into Riemann software to get the PET value. And this table shows the relationship between thermal sensations and the PET. A research also found that for rural residents, the preferred PET is 27.6. This is the park in W Village. As mentioned before, one of the cultural capital of the Bikoguan Art Museum is the Kinko tree. The tree is in this park too. Kinko tree means good luck, and W Village has benefited greatly from this tree. There are two kinds of paving simulated in the model. The current paving of the park is brick. The other simulated paving is wood. Because of the Bikoguan Art Museum, W Village has many tourists, so the government once considered a plan to change the brick to the wood for beauty and clean. But because of the limited construction fee, the wood plan was abandoned. This is the result of the potential air temperature, wind speed, and the relative humidity in the height of 1.5 meters at 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. I chose these two times because through observation, the park gets busy starting at 10 a.m. and by 11 a.m. many people leave to rest. Around 4 p.m., people head home to prepare for their dinner, and the tourists also rarely stay after 4 p.m. This time was chosen to match the pattern of people using the park. In summer, to get the result of slightly warm is a result good enough, but the performance of wood, the blue one, is worse than the brick. Although the result for the wood and brick didn't change much, not replacing the brick can save money due to the limited construction fee. This is the other rural park in Sea Village. This park is considered as no design park. This is the simulation model used in the NVMat, and this is the result of the PET value of the park in Sea Village. We can find that people can feel cool in the parks according to the preferred PET value of rural resident of 27.6. And the thermal comfort in W Village is a bit better than Sea Village. A designed park is more likely to have a more comfortable thermal environment. And the abandoned wood pavement plan in W Village and the current situation of Sea Village don't perform well. But the area, the shape, and the paving of the two parks are different, and this will be further discussed. And this part is talking about the overall satisfaction. Through the pilot survey conducted online, the weight of the rural parks elements are determined. The weights were shown in this table. The weight of the sitting place is the highest, and the weight of pavement is the lowest. This means people pay little attention to the pavement, and maybe there was no need to change the pavement of the rural park in W Village because people pay less attention to the pavement. They care much more about the rest place. And here is the result of the certification survey of the visitors and the villagers who using the park. The questionnaire was conducted in September 2023 and May 2024. First, an interview with the target was conducted, and then the target was asked to rate for the park. The target was also selected randomly. From the result, we can see that the tourists give a higher score of 4.01 than the villagers 3.28. Tourists have shorter stays than the villagers. and the villagers have higher requirement for the park, and this leads to the difference in the result. However, from the interview, both the villagers and the tourists show higher requirement for more culture and art in the park. The line graph above shows the scores given by the visitors from different age groups, and the one below is the scores from the villagers. The satisfaction level of visitors are generally high across all age groups. This is a slight decrease in the satisfaction among those aged over 60. This may indicate that the needs specific to this age group might not be fully met, such as the seating situation. Villagers consistently report lower satisfactions across all the age group compared to the visitors. This could imply that villagers have different desires or needs from the park, possibility due to the daily usage or familiarity leading to a more crucial view. It is also possible that the cultural activities at the art museum have enlightened the aesthetic awareness. There is a notable drop in the villagers aged 51 and above, much sharper than the observed with visitors. Many elderly villagers want the rural landscape as beautiful as urban landscape. Here is a summary of the most frequently mentioned factors in the interview. The visitors primarily consider the thermal comfort and the cultural capital. And of course, easy to access can also enhance the use of the park. And we can see that they give higher scores than the overall certification. And for the villagers, the park serves as a social gathering place, and they also want the park to be cool and easy to access. However, they want the park to be more designed in the future, and people who thought the park is lack of design give a lower score, about 0.1 than the overall certification. It can be speculated that the culture and the artistic events in W Village heighten the villagers' aesthetic awareness. Because there is no cultural event in C Village, there are no tourists in C Village. So the certification survey was conducted during the villagers. And we can see that the score of the park in C Village is lower than W Village. It's only 3.11. It can be speculated that the villagers are not very satisfied with the park. The main dissatisfaction are focused on their seating. It doesn't look good at all, and the privacy in the park is too poor, as mentioned before. Younger people care more about design and privacy, and the ratings are the lowest, just around 2. Scores of the age group over 51 are higher than W Village, and the reason may be because that no culture and artistic activities have taken place in C Village, and the aesthetic awareness of the villagers in C Village has not yet been awakened. For the villagers in C Village, the park is also a gathering place for socializing. And also easy access is almost the most frequently mentioned factors. It has little impact on the overall certification. The thermal comfort, also with less mentioned at number 4, greatly affects the overall certification. The design and the privacy issues of the park significantly influence the overall certification. Future improvement to C Village Park should focus on better design. The left side of this figure is the result of C Village, and since there is no visitor in C Village, the right side is the result of W Village. It can be found that W Village were higher score than C Village, and W Village did benefit a lot from the design of the park and the cultural capital. The park in C Village gets lower score, and the cultural awareness of the villagers has not yet been awakened. The awakening of villagers' cultural awareness, in turn, will promote improvements in the park. It is found that visitors and the villagers' certification diverges, indicating different needs and expectations. Given the significant disparity in certification score between visitors and villagers, A structured evaluation framework is crucial for ongoing improvement. Culture capital and the design of the park significantly influence the park certification. And Chapter 6 is about rural development. Based on PLES and Maslow's theory of needs, the function of the rural development is divided into three parts. The first one is the physical need space, the safety need. The first one is physical need space, the second one is the safety need space, and the third one is the belongings and law need space. The physical need space is about daily life, such as bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, and storage. The safety needs space is related to income generation, such as farming to storage and commercial shop, because we all need income to sustain our lives. Belonging needs and law needs space is social space, such as the living room, the guest room, and the landscape yard. These two pages are the layout of the research targets. Number 1 to 8 is the rural development built before the rural revitalization. From the color classification, we can see that many blue and orange colors. Blue is the physical needs, and orange is the safety needs. And this page, number 9 to 16, are the buildings renovated after 2017 by the new villagers. The gray color is the belongingness and law needs space. We can see that gray color is appearing more and more in the layout. The proportion of the yard is increasing too, and actually, there are more and more design elements in the yard planning. Most yard designs can be seen from the outside, and which will greatly improve the villagers' landscape and enlighten the villagers' design awareness. And from this figure, the functional difference between the traditional and the new dwellings are quite clear. The area of physical needs and the safety needs, the color of blue and orange, is becoming fewer, and the belongings and the law needs space, the color of gray, is becoming more. Traditional and new dwellings have different focus. The table summarizes the value of the function area. The traditional dwellings layout is T-shaped, focused on the basic needs, and the new dwellings are L-shaped, focused on culture and spiritual needs. This kind of space now takes up for more than 50%. There are some pictures of the notable changes in the interior design, and this is the changing of the living room. And the kitchen in the old house was difficult to keep clean, and now the kitchen is modern and full of design. The yard was used to place farming tools. Now the yard is a landscape yard and for leisure and drink tea with the guests. And the owner of this house, he opened the yard to the villagers, and he hopes that the village can become more and more beautiful. We can see that the appearance is becoming increasingly modern. More modern design techniques and the elements are appearing in the new dwelling. The goal of the rural revitalization in Dahua is to increase population influx and promote economic prosperity. The moving in of new villagers can be considered as one of the indicators of successful revitalization. The renovations to the rural dwellings will greatly enhance the community dynamics and bring vitality to the village. And this is a failed case in China. It started in 2011 and closed in 2016 by the government. And this project is called the Bishan project. And because the project is too opinion and lack of community participation, the project has been criticized by many people because of the expensive souvenirs and the coffee shops that the villagers can't understand, as well as the lack of the improvement in the villagers' infrastructure and the job opportunities for the villagers is not enough too. And here is the summary of the findings. Overall, W Village can be considered a well-performing village that has successfully transformed art and culture in an easy understanding way, and it is well received by the villagers and tourists. This leads to the villagers' prosperity. The results of B Village and B Village are not as good as W Village. And this is a quantitative analysis of the cultural activities, park certification, and non-resident in each village. In W Village, high levels of cultural activities, park certification, identification and the new resident shows that this village has strength in these areas. W village is the village with the cultural capital of comics. In C village, the cultural performance is very low, but with 9 new villagers. In B village, as long as there are some cultural events held by the design valley, but they are difficult for the villagers to understand. And there are no new residents and there is no park available for socializing. And here are some pieces of evidence from the interviews that can provide further reference. W village is the village with the art museum and comics. Villagers and new residents are eager to communicate, but surprisingly, the language has become more barrier because the new villagers can't understand the local language. However, understandable art and culture don't require language. Artistic and cultural activities can overcome the language barriers, and the visitor also hope to see more art and cultural elements in the future. C village is the village with the event hall but no event held. The residents are eager for cultural activities. The government's call has helped C village attract new villagers. As mentioned before, there are 9 new villagers. But these new residents need cultural activities too, and the cultural activities is needed to maintain their stability. B village is the village with the design valley and architecture design concept. Villagers feel that design valley is not very relevant to them, and tourists also hope to see more interaction between design valley and the village. And in the next step, in W village, more cultural events are needed to meet the cultural pursuit of villagers and tourists. In C village, cultural activities need to be conducted to better promote the development, and maybe the park needs to be redesigned again. And in B village, the operation of design valley is relatively independent from the village, so a community-based strategy is very important. And a place for gathering is important too. And my study this is the conclusion. My study divides rural revitalization into 3 elements: cultural facilities, rural parks, and rural dwellings. Each contribute to rural revitalization in different ways and promoting rural development. These 3 elements are manageable and accessible. Based on the result of the assessment, rural revitalization strategy can be adjusted promptly. Although the research currently is limited to the research area, this study provides a solid foundation for the future research and also offers possibilities for the evaluation system. And that's all of my presentation. Thank you for your listening. And I want to thank you to Select Sensei and Siama Sensei for their valuable advice and suggestions. This really helped me a lot. And I want to thank you for Professor Fuda Sensei too. Thank you for his supervision. And I believe that I can do better in the future because of this experience in Japan. And thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you.